So, Facebook renames itself Meta in reference to the metaverse, makes that their whole identity, releases a couple VR headsets, and then Apple comes along with their own much better headset and doesn't say the word metaverse once in their presentation. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
How do you feel if you're Mark Zuckerberg at this point?
Does he feel?
If he feels anything, it's probably a feeling that kind of sounds like this.
I was thinking more like a well, shucks.
Oh no. Yeah, apparently they just had an all hands meeting at Facebook where he said something like, "Okay, guys, let's settle down here." Apple did they released their own headset, but they have no quote unquote magical solutions.
Yeah, he specifically mentioned that they were following the same laws of physics as they were. Like they didn't have any magical solutions to the laws of physics. Yeah, that our teams haven't already explored and thought of.
When he needed to say that because sometimes it really does seem like Apple is bending the laws of space and time to talk through their asses.
Well, it seems more like they're bending the laws of their customers' wallets.
Bam. Got him. Guys, this is TalkLinked, in case you were wondering. Normally, we release a TechLinked episode where it's just like a roundup of the daily news, but we're busy. Something's happening at the company today, so we're going to talk about Apple's announcement of the Vision Pro headset in a bit more detail, especially in the context of these comments that Mark Zuckerberg just made. It's got to be crazy. I mean, so we have both tried VR to a certain extent.
You've tried it way more than I have.
I've kind of like followed along with the developments in VR, so I'm somewhat familiar. You've tried PSVR.
Yes. So you had all that experience. You're the AR king on Short Circuit. Meanwhile,
that's true.
Yeah.
I've tried those AR glasses.
That's right. Meanwhile, what I did was I bought a PSVR for full price at the end of the life of the PlayStation 4.
So both of us having these experiences is interesting because in the context of Apple releasing a product in this category, sort of. I mean, they call it a different category, spatial computing, but our experience here represents very much a niche. Like most people, I would say, have not tried either AR or VR. Augmented reality or virtual reality, terms that may become obsolete if Apple has their way. But now Apple
is spatial computing?
What's that? Yeah.
Well, I can't wait until next year when they revolutionize the temporal computing. And then we can finally compute all of the space-time continuum together at once.
Spatial computing, temporal computing. Yeah. And at that point, I mean, we don't even need AI because we will have the ability to control wormholes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. If anyone, Apple will do it. So back to this launch, Apple is, they've done this with a few categories now where there's an existing product category, there's innovation being done in an industry, cell phones are a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if smartwatches, I think they were starting to become a thing.
Pebble, I think, was out, and it was like it's still everyone's favorite.
Oh, Pebble came, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there were definitely smartwatches, but this is what Apple does. Even when I think back, and I've been covering this stuff since 2013, so even when I think back, I have to think for a second before I remember that, Apple actually wasn't the company that did define that category. I mean, with the iPhone, with the Apple Watch, with the iPad. But that's the thing. They didn't start the category.
Yeah, but I think
But they might have defined it.
Yeah, they have, and I think part of it is they have this very smart linguistic trick that they do, where they don't call the thing the thing.
Yes.
They give it a name, and then they wait for everybody else to call it that thing. So they're doing it right now. They have the Vision Pro. Never once did they mention VR, AR, none of that. They didn't say this is a VR headset, this is an AR headset. I don't even know if they said mixed reality.
No, I don't think they did.
No, nothing like that. But then everybody already starts because they see that product. They know the category. So oh, that's a VR headset. Oh, that's an AR headset.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden you know that their named product, it not only is that, but it's the one you think of because you're the one that has to put that together. They never say it.
Yeah. And I think that covering this, it has seemed awkward even to use those other terms. So every time there's a headset or glasses or whatever that involves some sort of thing, like a screen near your face, mounted on your face, and it's displaying things. It's like, do I call this VR? Do I call it AR? Do I call it XR?
Yeah.
Which I guess is a stand-in for mixed reality. Do I call it...
Apparently XR, according to the geniuses of Wikipedia, believe it means extended reality.
Right. There's extended reality. There's the metaverse, which
was a dystopian idea.
Was very
from a
much
novel.
Yeah. And we don't learn, but even I, who have been covering these things, struggle to which adjective do I use, which category definer thing do I use, and I have to give it to Apple. In the sense that calling it spatial computing, that can catch on, I think. I would much rather refer to the Nreal thing, the Nreal glasses that I've covered on Short Circuit as a spatial computing product rather than they're not VR glasses. It's not a VR headset. They're sort of like AR, but some of them don't actually track with your head. I mean, you can track your head, but that's only it's a whole thing. There's always caveats, right? So I think calling the whole category spatial computing, this is generally the type of thing where you have a display near your face and you are moving around and maybe interacting with it with either controllers or your hands or whatever. I have to give it to Apple. I want to call it that.
I would rather call it something like virtual computing. Like, that makes sense to me. Whatever you call it, the Vision Pro does it.
Exactly. And that's kind of what Apple wants us to think. They're like, okay, this is the category defining product. So let's take a bit of a look at the actual product itself in case you missed out on the, holy crap, it was such a long keynote. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy writing TalkLinked that day after watching it.
Oh my gosh. Guys, window into the process of writing TalkLinked. It's already kind of hectic enough to try and make a video in one day about the trending topics that are happening right then. You're trying to get all the accurate information as it's happening.
And then instead of writing for 2 hours, you watch something for 2 hours so that you can then write about it for another 2 hours.
Oh, it's got to be here. How long is it? It was only 2 hours.
Yeah.
It seemed way longer. Ugh.
Well, that's just because Craig Federighi kept on jumping out and jumping back in, and it was confusing.
Hey, what the heck? This is supposed to be... Last time I went to this was a 3D model. It was kind of cool. Now they got rid of it. Or maybe... whatever. That's too bad. I wanted to show you guys the actual 3D structure in case you hadn't seen much of it. But as you can see here, the thing that was immediately impressive to me during the keynote was how slim it is. That's kind of been the whole struggle over the VR generations. I mean, the first, the Oculus, if any of you guys were around for the DK1, that was a brick. It was just sticking a brick on your face. And
it was like a virtual boy, but only slightly smaller.
Yeah, honestly. And it was very square. It was there was crazy screen door effects, really small FOV, and still though it was enchanting because I remember sitting at my desk at NCIX and having that first roller coaster experience, but where I'm stationary sitting at my desk and I'm looking around. It was still kind of mind blowing. So to arrive at this time in 2023 and see that we've been able to get this down to this slim is pretty crazy. Although I will say I've seen some other people's impressions of it and listened to them, and apparently the headset is quite heavy.
That makes sense.
Which is probably not helped by the fact that it doesn't have an overhead strap. I wonder if they have if they're going to have an accessory like that. They only have this rear headband that goes around the back of your head.
And then the thingy that goes onto your face.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking that when they did the demo because it looks slim. It looks like goggles, right? And you don't need a top strap for goggles. But they said it's made of metal and glass. So yeah, it's do you want to wear ski goggles made? They're ski goggles, but with a computer inside, including the M2 chip. So it's like a full computer.
And the R1 processor.
And the new R1 processor. Yeah.
Brand new.
Which is only to handle all the input from all of these sensors that it has.
Yeah.
Does this page have stuff about sensors here? For the cameras and sensors. Give me something good.
It has.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah.
Gotta say, I love their sites. You know what? Like,
they know how to design things.
Here's the thing, because if you cared about VR, like nerds, like I'm a nerd. I'm not like a, Linus level nerd, but I'm a nerd and I like VR. I think it's cool. I've definitely experimented with it on my own time, outside of what we've had to do for work, and like I'm into it. And so I think that seeing this presentation, it's $3,500. Obviously, I'm not going to buy it. That is ridiculous. It's going to be for the very wealthy early adopters.
Is it though?
It is. But, okay, wait, devil's advocate. Go from Apple's perspective.
Okay.
It's worth it. Why?
Here's the thing. So I thought the MetaQuest Pro was the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Whoa.
When they announced it, I mean, obviously they did that massive price cut, and I'm pretty sure they confirmed that they are not doing an update. They're not doing a sequel to that.
They're not?
To the MetaQuest Pro. No, they're not.
Really?
I'm pretty sure, like, someone up at Meta said, like, yeah, they're not. Because it did not do well at all.
No, it did not.
It did not.
But it also came out, like, as VR was dying. Like, when did it come out? It came out November 2022, just as AI was, like, really taking off. DALL-E 2 had dominated the news cycle, and then ChatGPT came out a month later.
Well, here's I mean, but that, honestly, I don't even think that matters, because if the product was good, it could have revived VR or kept it alive. It could have, what it should have done, and what Apple is obviously trying to do here, is trying to bridge the gap between, because the MetaQuest Pro, they specifically were targeting enterprise. Like, they were like, oh, this is all about business. You can use this in business to have meetings from remotely, where you can have avatars, even though, like, people are already doing things in person, and the pandemic's kind of ending.
Yeah. But still.
So that was their focus. Now, what Apple's done, and you see that in the presentation, is they talk about what you can do with it at work, but the first thing they show you is a woman in a WWDC keynote, is a woman sitting on her couch, just using it casually.
Right.
That's the first thing you see. And then they spend, and I timed this, about 5 minutes talking about how it can work for you at work, and then about 5 minutes equally talking about what it can do for you at home.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how little time they spent talking about the applications for work, especially because it's a pro product. A couple of people have pointed out at this point that it's $3,500, but they're also explicitly launching it as a Pro. It's a Vision Pro, not just Apple Vision. And with everything else, we got the non-Pro product before we got the Pro. The iPhone, then the iPhone Pro, Watch, and then the Watch Ultra, and then the iPad, and then the iPad Pro, and MacBook.
We're waiting for the Vision Pro Max.
Yeah, Vision Pro Max, Vision Pro Max Ultra. It's just a helmet. It's a whole head transplant.
Dude, not when I'm drinking water. Come on.
I was surprised.
Yeah, but like here's sort of the genius of Apple at work, at least in marketing and the way they design their products, is that they specifically show that this device. So Meta is a company that you know for social media, right? Yeah. They have Facebook, they have Instagram, they have Oculus. That's like the one hardware thing that they do. You don't really think about them anywhere else. Apple has, first of all, the luxury of having an ecosystem. But the other thing is that everybody's familiar with that ecosystem, even the people that don't use it.
Right.
So when they show off the Vision Pro, they don't have to talk that much about what it can do, because basically what they're saying is, oh, it's a Mac you can put on your face.
Yes.
But then also, on top of being a Mac you could put on your face, it can interface with your Mac and your iPad and your iPhone.
Right.
Wirelessly. Yeah.
It's huge. And like, following this story as it developed for so long, it's like, did you have a sense of watching when we were watching the keynote? Did you have a sense of like, oh my gosh, this is happening, this is real?
Yeah,
it was like an out of body experience for me. Like,
I don't know if I go that far.
Not because I was so excited, but I was just kind of like, this is the reality I live in, is that Apple just is launching a VR headset. What? It's messed up.
Well, I know. I mean, me and Mark Gurman
you go way back.
We go way back. We have a very one-sided relationship, but I follow all of everything he writes because I have to. And so everything that he said, like everything that most of the things that were in the keynote, I already kind of knew from Mark Gurman's like slow leaks.
He was DMing you.
So
or you were DMing him.
No, it's just his newsletters, man. He's good. He protects his sources and he informs the public. And like, so if you read what he says about Apple, like it's there. So like all of the things he said about like creating the persona. Having said that, I'm pretty sure he predicted that it would produce. I thought it was going to produce like a full body sort of model. Oh, they never really talked about that.
The persona?
But one of the things he said originally was that two people with the Apple's headset. They would be able to basically, it would create a virtual version of each other. So it was like when you two are talking, you're in the same room. Mm-hmm. But it was only for two because it would take too much processing power. They didn't talk about that at all in the keynote. So I don't know if that's actually true. But we saw them show a normal persona that just fits in a nice little square that you would use for FaceTime.
Right.
But like most of the things that were said at the keynote, like I expected. There were things I didn't expect though, like the whole environment thing and the adjustable immersion.
Right.
For anyone who doesn't know, environments, it's just the VR function. That's just what it is. It shuts off the rest of the world so you don't see outside. There's no pass through and you see something else.
This is just crazy as well.
The shadows?
Yeah, which is like, it doesn't seem that hard. And I know that probably other companies could do this with their AR products, but I think seeing the Apple Polish, and I know this is just a render, but like, it's not usually like Apple to show a demo like this and then to have you experience it and have it be like, oh, that was just marketing. And to that point, most of the people who tried it out actually said, this looks good.
Yeah.
It's high resolution. It's responsive.
Yep.
I mean, Marquez said...
There were some drawbacks.
Yeah.
I think there were, like, at least when I was reading The Verge's coverage of what they did, there were things that they weren't able to try. I don't think they were able to try taking 3D video.
What I'm super disappointed with still is the fact that you can't use it with glasses. I mean, if like, you know, how many nerds are there out there that are into VR that wear glasses? Probably lots.
But there's also
most of them.
There's also a lot of nerds that make a lot of money and can probably afford the Zeiss lenses.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, like, my rage towards this is probably misplaced to the fact that you have to buy Zeiss prescription lenses that are compatible, like from Apple, that you can screw on to the actual lenses. The Nreal, or not the Nreal, the Rokid, the recent AR glasses that I did on Short Circuit, the Rokid had built-in, I forget what it's called, but it's
myopic adjustment,
something like that. I forget. There's a word. I forget the word, but it basically I could use it without my glasses, and I could. There was a dial where I could dial it in, and then I could see it clearly, and that was great. And I'm like, why can't Apple just throw in something like that? You know, it's kind of silly. Like they even have the crown on there. They threw on the digital crown from the Apple Watch, but the only thing that they've shown that being for in the demos is to transition from the kind of AR mode where you can see the outside world to the environment, quote unquote, VR mode. And I'm like, is that really what that's for? Like,
but it's good. It's good you brought that up because that's incremental. So it's not like all or nothing.
Yeah. But I'm like, what's the point of that? Why do you want an incremental environment?
According to...
I'm partially in space.
According to The Verge, it's that what Apple imagines is that in the workplace, you have most of your screen real estate being the environment, and then you have your peripheral open so you can still see and interact with your coworkers. Here's the other... I just thought of this, so this might be BS, but here's the other reason you might need this, is that... So they showed that kind of, like, you're sitting, and then a person walks in, and all of a sudden you see them, and they're looking at you, like they just appear in the environment. Now, that's probably fine in, say, a home environment when you're doing something fun, like normal, ideally not watching, like, a horror movie. But, like, in the office, when you're, like,
Hi!
Yeah. when you're in the office and you're like in a flow state.
Yeah.
You're probably sitting at a desk. People can't come and walk in front of you. They're going to probably want to walk to the side of you. I wouldn't really want people, even if I was wearing this headset, to be tapping me on the shoulder. I'm kind of one of those people. I don't like that, especially not when I'm in somewhere and then all of a sudden I feel touched. Like, and I'm seeing I'm seeing desert sands, and all of a sudden I feel someone touch me. That's a little. I don't know about that.
I think that
but
if you're using it at work, you probably are aware of the fact that people are probably going to have to talk to you at some point.
Have you seen these environments, though?
They
take you away. There might be Star Wars ones, too, because of Disney. So, I'm going to be on Tatooine.
And that's a whole nother thing.
But that's why I can understand why you might want to leave that open, so that when people come to, the side of your desk and they're like, hey, blah, 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 and they start talking, you can still hear them.
You know what I don't understand? This. Very true. And you know who has a pro vision for the future of sneakers? Our sponsor, Vessi. Man, the temperature is really starting to rise these days. Knees are getting weak, palms are sweaty. But you know what won't be sweaty? Your feet with Vessi shoes. Their Boardwalk slip-on sneakers are designed to let sweat and heat escape, perfect for summer weather. They're easy to put on and take off, so you'll be skipping down the beach in no time. And of course, the Boardwalks are made with the same Dymatex technology that Vessi claims is 100% waterproof. So check out the Vessi Boardwalk and other styles at vessi.com/techlinked and use code TechLinked for 15% off your entire order. I just don't know about this. Because almost every demo image they have of this is pretty much straight on. Mm-hmm. But if this person looks around, if you do one of these, okay, your eyes are doing a whole circle. It's like putting tubes on your eyes, and then you're doing this, and look what the tubes are doing. It's gonna look goofy. So it's what was the kind of the point of this? It's you can have social interactions.
I'm not sure I understood the tube analogy here.
Look at this.
You're saying you have snail eyes?
Look at this.
Yeah.
Imagine my eyes on the end of this tube.
Okay.
And now I'm like, yes, no. It's my eyes are doing loop-de-loops. They're all over the place. Okay.
Maybe it's got some sort of adjustment for that.
Maybe I'm not explaining this properly.
No. I get it now. Because it's different from you. It's away from your face. So they're gonna move at a larger angle than the rest of your face is.
Yeah. It reminds me of something that is hard. It's hard for me to explain. The point is.
No, I get it.
It's this is cool, but it's also kind of pointless because any social interaction you have with someone that is significant enough that is significantly long enough to justify showing your eyes on the front is also going to be one in which you take the headset off because screw that.
No, those other people that want me to take my headset off. I spent $3,500 on that headset. I am not taking it off. I am being immersed.
Reality now.
I think that this is. I'm not saying it's the perfect solution, but I can see why they did it. They needed something that would sort of bridge that gap. And I kind of, I was looking at this, how they have this, they really want to focus. They have this emphasis on the transition between being isolated and then having outside awareness, but also being able to interact with the outside world while still maintaining the usage of the device. And that's really the biggest obstacle to VR when you think about it. The joke is you see someone in a full VR setup and they have a bodysuit on that tracks every movement, and then all of a sudden their mom calls them for dinner, and they gotta take all it off.
Well, but
go downstairs.
You're gonna take this off too. So it's what's it?
I don't know if it's comfortable enough. I don't know if I would. I mean,
You're gonna sit down for dinner wearing a VR headset.
Riley, they studied thousands of heads.
It serves the function of letting people know when they can see, or letting an outside person know when the person in VR can see them.
Yeah, when I'm ready to give a about you, you'll know because you'll see my fake eyes.
But can that also be achieved by speaking to the person and having the person respond? And say 1 second, or
it's also a phone.
It's fair, but I could see a scenario where this could fulfill a function for someone in VR to like be sassy to someone outside, because you walk up to them and you're like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And then you see their eyes appear on the headset,
You go,
and they
"Nope,"
just
and
look
then
at
you
you.
just go,
They don't say anything. They just look. It's like, "You can see me, right?" They don't say anything. It's like, wow, I'm glad Apple put this feature in so this person can be
That's
passive
scary.
aggressive to me. I want to talk about Meta, and I want to talk about what is going to happen to VR, because, you know,
Spatial computing.
we've been around, spatial computing. We've been around to see kind of the rises and falls of these tech, of this tech. VR has been a niche thing. The Quest 1 came out in 2019, and the pandemic hit. People were like, hey, actually, this is cool.
Yeah.
We're staying at home, and now like it's part of what drove an increased interest in VR, to such an extent that Meta released the Quest 2 October 13th, 2020. Right after, I'm going to show you their stock. Right after, where's 2020? So like, here's where they release the Quest 2. Before that point, you know, it's kind of a steady, it looks like a tech giant stock. It's just kind of like slowly going up. They release that. I don't know what the dip is about, but then this is like, ooh, VR hype, metaverse hype. Everyone's talking about metaverse all day, every day. And then that confidence, as everyone else comes in and starts talking about metaverse stuff.
Yeah.
You remember, or you weren't here for that part, but
I existed in the world, and so in that way I remember.
okay. I'm not sure how that works, so.
Existing in a world?
Yeah, because I'm so into the metaverse. And all these people were too. It's a big spike. And then, so we get into 2022. Now, there's a bunch of stuff happening with Meta. You know, they made some gaffes. I don't want to go over their entire stock history, but the main thing I want to point out here is that DALL-E 2 comes out, and that is sort of the starting point for the AI hype.
Yeah.
Over the course of 2022, AI just steals the show from VR, from metaverse stuff at all. And it's all been about AI stuff. I think
It's also important to note that this was like the end of like the pandemic era demand.
that's true. That's a factor as well. Meta Quest Pro comes out in November 2022. Meta has had an identity crisis. They went from Facebook, because that's the whole reason they renamed, right? Is
Yeah.
because Facebook had all of this data leaking scandal, election fraud stuff, like, you know, Cambridge Analytica and all that stuff. Like
Only moms use it.
They tried to escape from all that and try to make a new identity for themselves. Okay, like, look, yeah, we own Facebook, but really, we're going to be all about the metaverse. We're going to be VR, AR, let's go. And then hype just died off, and they're like, oh, well, it's a good thing we got our AI researchers going in the background. Let's focus on that. We're going to dump stuff into AI. And so that looked like it was going to be a thing. And then OpenAI comes out, and they're just like, ChatGPT, what's up? And it's like, oh, right. Meta's doing important research still, and like Llama, it was their model that is now kind of out in the public. It got leaked, and so they are
It
a
is
basis
revolutionizing open source AI right now, LLM as we know it.
for sure. But you know, they're not getting any money from that.
They are not.
So now they're like, okay, wait. So we can't, you know, we got leapfrogged in AI. So maybe we can go back to doing VR stuff. And then they release the Quest Pro. It flops. Apple comes out a few months later and releases this thing. And now they're just like, what did we do? Are we what do we do as a company? Go back to social media? Everyone hates you. Oh my gosh. Are they
People
dead?
still use
they
it,
might
though.
be dead.
I mean, Instagram still gets.
I mean, yes, sorry. They're
Lots
not
of
dead.
stuff,
They're
like-
far from dead. It's true.
I really feel like part of it too. I don't think the only reason they renamed was to escape the scandal. I think part of it was that Zuckerberg realized the truth, and that is that Facebook is a dying platform. They have this company, Oculus, that became the name of VR, and it still maintained that for a very long time. Still now, when I think VR on PC, I think Oculus.
yeah.
So his gamble wasn't stupid. It was educated, but he didn't do it right, and his focus was not maybe in the right place. So he tried to remake them after they already owned a company that was the name of VR,
Right.
which is weird. I would have made it like I would have made them Oculus instead. I would have made the overarching name like Oculus or some sort of version of Oculus.
I don't think people would. I don't know if people would accept that. I mean, I don't know whether accepting the name is even a part of that equation. But
anyway, now going into the future, he made this wrong gamble. He's gotten leapfrogged over AI, though he has arguably access to one of the largest data sets ever.
Yeah. I mean, then that's probably a big part of why they were able to get into AI.
So, like, that probably looks great for... Meta. I mean, hell, we looked at Cicero.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly impressive. Like, they probably are going to do great for AI. In terms of VR, I think in terms of people who just want a game and who want to have that experience, because it is, at least the first time you do it,
they might game on Mac OS now.
The first time you put on a VR headset, it is a mind-blowing experience. I remember getting the PSVR, putting it on and playing Star Wars Squadrons. And it was like I was living a childhood dream of piloting an X-wing, and I legitimately cried. Tears came out of my eyes.
Wow.
There were tears of joy. It was like a life-changing experience for a moment.
I 100% empathize with that. I had like a very similar experience, but yeah, it was very much like this is happening. I'm in an X-wing.
Yeah.
I'm a pilot. I'm a rebel pilot.
And then I played a VR game called Blood and Truth, which is like a super cool cinematic like spy / like gangster game. And I was like, this is how all games should be, always and forever until the end of time.
It's really funny, like, as someone who has used VR extensively, it is funny how there wasn't more of a reaction of like, oh my gosh, this is what gaming needs to be.
Yeah.
But I think that, people are in different life situations. Yeah. I have almost no time to do this anymore. As a father, we're doing renovations and stuff in my apartment. I'm so busy. But like for people with more time, you set up your space. You like get used to the whole thing. It's not, it's not a plug and play experience like a console where you just hook it up to your TV and you sit down, you play. It's like, a little bit more involved. So I understand why it didn't catch on, but like as a gamer with the time to do it, it's like, why? So,
but here's what you just said. Here's kind of the genius and the potential projection of the future of spatial computing based on the Vision Pro. Is everything you just said. So like you're running around, you don't have that much time to game. Let's say you bought a Vision Pro for some reason. You put it on, you can play 100 games on Apple Arcade on day one.
Arcade.
With game controller support.
That's really...
And hell, maybe there will be game porting toolkit support later, which would be insane and super cool. Can you imagine that? But let's say...
I don't know if the M2 in the
maybe not
headset can like run Windows games to the fidelity. I mean, like people were running on an M2 Max.
Well, M1 Max.
And it was chugging a little bit.
But it
was an M1 Max?
Yeah, the M1 Cyberpunk was running on an M1.
I mean, maybe.
But so it's possible. The other thing is like, so you have a little bit of time to game or play or whatever. You put on your Vision Pro. You're doing it, and all of a sudden your wife calls you and is like, oh, I need your help doing this thing. You don't have to take off the headset necessarily. If Apple is able to give people the feeling that they've forgotten they're wearing glasses. If they can get to the point where where someone goes, honey, no, I mean like literally, like, how sometimes you forget you're wearing glasses? Like, have you ever had that experience where you're like, crap, where'd I leave my glasses? And they're on your face?
I get what you're saying, but that's not gonna...
If they can create, this is...
what you're saying, but like in 4 years when we have just the glasses version.
Well, that, but also if they can start to get us toward that point, then it becomes more of a consumer product. It's something that anybody can use.
That's true. So I'll answer the question I asked earlier about like, Meta and is VR over and stuff. As you said, I believe Meta is going to be fine. I don't see Meta going out of business anytime soon.
No.
They still have Facebook, which, as cringe as it is among younger people now, it's still probably profitable. Moms spend money. I don't know. Marketplace is thriving.
Moms spend money.
Facebook Marketplace is used. It's like the primary way I see people buying and selling stuff. Instagram, WhatsApp, they have all these things. And so Meta's probably going to be fine. VR / spatial computing, whatever. I think that if it survives, it will. It will survive. It will, even in a world in which Apple never released the Vision Pro, VR endures. That kind of keeps chugging in the background. It will remain a niche thing. But in a world in which Vision Pro has launched and which Apple continues to iterate on these products and maybe releases a more affordable version later, Apple is going to have an impact on this industry to a similar level that they've had on like the smartwatch industry and the tablet industry and the laptop industry. Like, there's a reason every high-end Windows laptop looks kind of like a MacBook. There's a reason every tablet is compared to an iPad. There's a reason every smartwatch is compared to an Apple Watch. Apple has released what I view as the category-defining product in this industry. Even though it's $3,500, that's going to be bought by the really rich people. They're going to release a cheaper version later.
I think that people who have a small apartment and maybe not a lot of room in this semi-dystopian future we're living in, they might buy this.
It's literally Ready Player One. Like the real world is just like in shambles, but people go to the metaverse.
Well, it's more like they just don't have enough space for anything else.
You're pitching the thing that you were so against. You're like, this came from Snow Crash. Like, this is like a dystopian idea. You're pitching it.
No, I'm not pitching them to live there. I'm pitching them as like, this is how you have an entertainment system. This is how you have leisure time after work in a small apartment.
Get a Steam Deck.
But that can't play movies with spatial audio.
Get a Steam Deck and just tape it to your head. It's the same. I'm just kidding.
It's exactly the same, just as heavy.
And this is the same as any other TalkLinked episode. It's no different. Just kidding. Hey, we have to end now. We've been going for way too long. This is why we don't do TalkLinks anymore. Just kidding. We're going to do more TalkLinks. If you like this kind of format, well, I don't want to promise anything. But the idea is that we're going to do more of these, and we're going to do more on the other channel. And so, thanks for watching. Leave a comment about your thoughts about what you could have said if you were here. And see you soon. Love you.
Love you too. Oh, you're talking to them. Cut that.